Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you, not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
All right, welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. This is Danny Bonin.
Welcome, guys. Scotty Bonin here.
We are
the Blood Brothers.
And
The Rob.
And this is a special edition of the show. We're interviewing, and I should have asked how to pronounce your last name. Is it Walter Moise?
Oh, it's actually French. It's Moise.
Moise. Ooh,
Okay.
I like that even better.
Oh, nice. You hear that, Rob? That's fancy folk. Not like down in Tallahassee.
No, not like down here in the swamp.
Although close, because you're sort of near Nolans.
New Orleans. Yes.
I'm not near enough. We are not cultured here.
Well, so yeah, guys, we got Walter on the line here. We're actually interviewing him about his Well, I almost called it a documentary, but his film, called The Documentary, which is, I just watched it on Amazon Prime,
Yes.
so I know it's available there, but I think it's available on plenty of other VOD services. Am I right, Walter?
Oh yeah, it's on Vudu, PlayStation, Xbox, iTunes, of course, and then from what my distribution tells me, it Terra Films other places in the foreign market as well.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Well, yeah. Well, I literally just finished watching it like 45 minutes ago, and
We like to keep it fresh. Watch it right before the interview. So I actually just recently got done watching it too.
We can share some thoughts, and then we'll get into some of the details
Sure.
here. But yeah, man, this was a dark movie with, I think, like, just my thoughts off the bat. Dark movie, solid soundtrack, and just different. You know, I liked it.
Yeah, it was like
I want to thank you personally because I got to watch this while my mother-in-law had a surprise visit. I was watching in the living room with my wife, and my mother-in-law was out of the house, and our driveway is right up by the front window of the house, and my wife immediately walks in and is like, close the fucking blinds now. And my mom rolls into the driveway, and he's over here twisting nipples, and the neighbors can probably see the shit too. Like I was like, fine, you know what? So I got banished to my room to finish the movie.
My wife doesn't even try anymore. She just walks in, and whatever's on the screen, she's like, cult classic horror.
Yeah, my wife actually sat in and watched a little bit with me. She's like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. And then she just went back upstairs. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. It was like great because I love like the disturbingly good movies, and this was one of those too. You know, it's definitely my type. You know, with footage going on.
So Walter, I mean, you've heard a little bit of our feedback. What has been? Have you gotten a lot of feedback? What has the general reaction been to this? Disturbing film?
I've definitely gotten. Guys, it's funny. For this film in particular, it has been hilariously hit or miss. They either seem to really like it, and I guess what I was going for, which was like a really slow, creepy burn, very inspired by The Shining and Rosemary's Baby, and I love Cape Fear, the one with De Niro, which is just, I've seen it so many times, it's just almost a comedy.
I love Cape Fear.
I mean, De Niro doing his exercises in the cell and everything.
Oh yeah. So they either seem to really kind of like it, and I've heard great words like creepy or chilling, and I'm like, great. I just wanted to provoke, some type of thing. Sure. Or they are very bored by it. They don't like it at all, and they're like, oh, okay. It's like it's sort of one or the other, which I really kind of love, I have to say, the middle lukewarm stuff is I'm sort of terrified by.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Well, in this, I see that this was actually, well, I don't know, totally completed, but completed around 2014, and here we are, a few years later, and it's finally being released. Was there a reason for the holdup?
Oh yes, of course, yeah. It's something I shot, years ago, 4 years ago, and I think it was kind of me doing mostly everything because the conceit of the film is, which I found it's such a scary, terrifying notion that this could maybe actually be happening now.
Oh yeah,
it's just one guy is stalking a girl and putting in cameras and kind of slowly destroying her life and stuff. That seemed really kind of creepy and terrifying. And when I decided, which was not my idea, to do the found camera footage aesthetic, it was my great friend and one of the producers on it, Ryan Bosloff. He said, "Well, why don't you do that aesthetic?" And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, no, you could make it work. I was like, "Really?" He's like, no, trust me.
Yeah.
And I about it. But when I guess my point is, when I decided to go into that aesthetic, I realized to actually not have a DP. I specifically did not want to have a director of photography because this should literally look like a bad movie that one guy did this. So I could technically do it very with very small crew, but then you have to survive and you don't have X amount of money and
Sure.
Post was sort of hysterical because you have seen the movie as is, but oh my God, gentlemen, the first pass, let's just say the first pass had no scenes of any women getting nude and getting killed, no scenes of insects getting killed, no scenes of him in the toilet, no scenes of him watching porn while he's talking.
Yeah.
Because it was a treatment. I didn't even have a script. Because I was like, no, my actors can't be remembering lines. I need to go for hyper real. I need to go for absolute reality, which I thought for 1 second, well, absolute reality is one take. Everything would be in one take. Life is literally one take. And I was like, no, I can't do that. That's absurd. So everything was 3 or 4 takes.
Yeah, sure. I actually like the found footage fashion too.
No.
Great.
Go ahead, Rob. We always snub Rob out. We'll let you shine, Rob.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that
Please.
I appreciated the sitting on the toilet. I just because most of my conversations between Danny and Scotty, at least for me, are me bored sitting on the toilet. I wonder what Danny's up to.
Yeah,
I think
you just start texting or calling or doing whatever, and I just, for me, that was just kind of real, but I wouldn't say funny, like slapstick. It just was, that's awesome. That's what you do.
I think
that's exactly what you do.
I think if Rob had a little more money, you'd have a second setup on the toilet, and half the podcast would be done that way.
Oh yeah.
If I could get one of those desks with rollers that I could just roll around like a cart, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, even if you're a psychopath and you're planning all this stuff and this attack, you still, it's all about time management. You're gonna crush some emails, make some phone calls, do what you got to do. I like that.
Rob, if you do that,
it was not even I have to give all the credit to the amazing actor Aaron Bowden, who played the psychopath. Oh, that was all his idea.
He was creepy
because the scene was just him calling her to give information about the doc, and that's all a reshoot. But he's like, "Oh, what if I'm sitting on the toilet?" I was like, "Great, okay." The scene was perfect. Really dull. It's just he. I was like, "What is he gonna stand in the middle of his apartment and the camera's just pointing at a wall?" It was. The scene was sort of awful, and the actor's like, no. What if I'm on the toilet and what if I'm maybe watching porn? What about that? I was like, great, we're shooting. Good, let's go.
That's good. And
there'd have been high fives all around. Yes. This is what we were missing.
And Rob, if you did that setup, you'd have to wear a headset mic because normal people stand up when they wipe.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You wipe while you're sitting. And I did appreciate that it didn't look like that he wiped at all. which is like for the podcast.
Friday the 13th, bringing it back.
That's a big thing. Nobody ever wipes in horror movies.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, Walter. If you don't wipe in a horror movie, you're dead. Like at least a minute later.
Yeah, we found this out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. One of the like Scream horror rules.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to add that in.
I actually like this too because you're kind of finding out how crazy this guy is. Like he's watching porn, he's on the toilet, his screensaver is all messed up and weird. You know, he's into like classical orchestra music as he's like conducting and stuff. It's just so you see how crazy this guy really is, right at the bat.
The thing that I like about this antagonist is that like I feel like, and maybe you didn't write it this way or think of it this way, but I feel like you sat back and were like, okay, every like fucked up thing we can put in this movie relating to this guy we should do. Like he's shitting, he's watching porn, he's this guy's fucked up.
Yeah.
No. I would say you're completely right. To kind of give now a short answer of like why did it take 4 years to kind of cut and stuff is the original cut you barely ever saw him. It was literally just the footage of like her, and people literally forgot that he was in the movie. I'm like, no, he's there.
Yeah,
he's watching.
He's there.
They're like, yeah, but if I don't see him, then he doesn't exist. So literally we're talking 2 years of like shooting more stuff with him. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to shoot. Like I didn't plan to shoot anything else. He's like watching. Yeah. And everyone's like, well, you need to show him do some fucked up stuff. So
yeah.
So clearly you cannot be more on the money.
Oh well, that and I gotta tell you, like I'm glad you didn't go there, but I'm a little surprised. I was like, the last thing I was waiting for him to be doing while recording something is just like totally masturbating.
Yeah,
just
like I was picturing like to her when she put the hidden cameras in her apartment.
At some point in the movie, I'm like, oh, I know we might be going there.
Yeah. He had a masturbation scene, and guys, it didn't really play very well because it was like behind his shoulder, and like you didn't see his face because I'm like, well, you can't show his face, and of course you couldn't see his hand. You just saw like the top part of his arm moving, and it was just weird.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's hard to shoot that.
But I tried it actually.
Oh man, well I'm a little curious before we like delve further or deeper into the actual film. Like how I know this obviously isn't your only film you've done. I looked up Counterclockwise since then, which looks like a great film. And I didn't get a chance to watch it, but how did you like just get into all this? How did you want to become a writer, director, or did it start with wanting to be one, like a writer, actor, and the rest came, or what's sort of the history behind your situation?
Well, yeah, growing up with 3 other siblings and 2 parents, I guess movies were just a huge thing in the house. We were always watching movies, and Indiana Jones was huge, and Star Wars was huge, and Raising Arizona was a huge family favorite, like huge.
Oh, for sure, man.
But then, so I guess at a certain point, I was like, and I did, and I was such a fan and still am a huge fan of comic books and graphic novels that I was always just sort of, I think, just thinking stories in my head. So I was perhaps always a writer, but at a certain point I was like, not novels, like movies. Movies are kind of as amazing as it gets. Like, Blade Runner and Aliens and, Blue Velvet, but then there's Amadeus, and there's, A Clockwork Orange or 2000. Yeah. Just an infinite, amazing. And then, so then I was like, yes. So then the weird long journey of, I was like, well, I guess I just assumed I had to like write a script. It never occurred to me of like, I'll just look for a good script. So I've written, 12 scripts and so 3 I would show.
Wow.
Hey,
wow.
That's awesome, man.
And that, at what age were you like, okay, let's just do this. Let's start making movies. I mean, was that and who knows if you had other shorts or homemade movies before your IMDb resume, but at one point were you like, okay, let's do this?
Oh, that's a very good question, man. Actually, I think I remembered that moment. I was studying abroad in Paris for a year, and I saw really this amazing film that just kind of came and went, and I'm not sure if anyone even knows about, but it was called Slam, SLAM, and just some great indie movie about this black guy drug dealer, but he's a poet, but he gets busted, and it's him like in prison and showing the terrible, brutal situations in prison. And there's some like amazing scene where he's literally just about to either really get his ass kicked or maybe like get killed in some kind of prison riot, and he starts spouting off like a poem, and at first you're like, what is he doing? What? But like no, but then it like worked. Like he somehow was wrapping up poetry, and he like stopped the violence. He like everyone stopped fighting because he was telling them sort of what they were doing. And I guess anyway, it was such an interesting movie, and it was an indie film, and I was like, oh. Because at that point I was like, okay, I'll write scripts, and eventually they'll like let me direct. And for some reason, that movie I was like, okay, right, I need to just make the fucking movie. Like, look at they made this, and this movie's like amazing, and like I've never heard of any of these. And then I'm not sure what happened to that filmmaker, but that was a great movie.
Wow. And so that was, you said you're studying abroad. That's like around college age. Then you were. Yeah, I was 20 at the time. 20.
Wow, okay. That's awesome.
That's great. Well, then
that is so cool.
I guess so back to this film. Was most of this funded by yourself, or what was?
Oh yeah, okay. No, just completely. Yeah, I think I paid for everything.
Everything. If you
you're making your own money.
Can you even nail down what your estimated budget would have been for it?
Oh, that's always what a funny question that they're always sort of iffy about. But to be perfectly honest, oh God, it couldn't have been more than $2,000, $3,000. It was like like I borrowed my friend's mic. There were no lavaliers, there was no boom mic, because I was like, well, like. Like if it's hidden cameras, like he would have put in hidden mic. So I just put like a camera. Like I think every scene in her den, you can see the big microphone in the shot. You just don't know it because a magazine is over it. Like a magazine is over it.
Nice.
Oh, that's wow.
So I literally no money for sound. I didn't have a DP. I shot everything. But in fact, I had a very rigorous rule of. If it is a scene with a psychopath speaking to someone face to face, he should just hold the fucking camera. I should hold the camera. I should go right to the utter reality of what this would seemingly perhaps be. But anytime, he's just from far away, just stalking, I was like, okay, I'll shoot it. I don't need my actor there. Like, although he was amazing. He was such a trooper. Like he was, that guy was amazing. And he kept coming back when seemingly the film was cut, because I'm telling you, all those scenes of D guys, like they literally weren't there.
Wow.
I had to add them into the movie. It was a very ass backwards way, but the movie didn't work and it was boring. I'll just say that.
Yeah, well, that's great. I like how you added Aaron Wright that played D, Aaron Bowden, and how his voice was creepy, the way he held the camera. He actually kind of reminded me of like a Giovanni.
Oh, dude, I was just gonna say
Ribisi.
I was just literally
his voice is like that creepy.
He
Ribisi.
sounds exactly like Giovanni Ribisi in this film.
Yeah,
I'm like, is that Giovanni Ribisi behind the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a great actor. So
yeah, he's good, and I mean, obviously, all the handheld stuff when he's talking, he's probably doing like you're saying most of that.
I wonder, was he like, come on, man, like, can you just show my face once?
No, he was amazing because I had a huge for a minute during the casting process, I had a huge creative dilemma in that I was like, well, do I cast for a voice, for a creepy voice? Because you will never see him. And I was like, no. Like because I care and cared so much about getting good performances out of my actors. That was like the only thing I really cared about at the end of the day. And I was like, I need to cast a guy who was first a very nice guy, a very warm, loving guy who is genuinely that person in reality, but then has a dark, fucked up side, as opposed to like, oh no, I'll cast a creepy guy. So it's like, because no. The character Sandra in the movie, no, she's she really believes this guy. He needs to like be this person. So I went. I mean, he had to audition, of course.
Yeah.
But I had worked with him in the past, and oh no, this guy just as a person is maybe like the nicest, most giving, most like non-judgmental. I mean, maybe ever met, and like is like to me like a wise guy. Like he is that person who can kind of put you at ease, and you like within 5 minutes you'll just tell him anything because you just exudes like he'll never tell anyone. Oh no, he's like that guy. Yeah. But I knew he'd played some dark edgy stuff. So at the end of the day, so we used to say that is to say, I love that people say he has a creepy voice because I did not cast him for his voice. I cast him because of his personality, I guess.
Wow.
Well,
with like the low budget and not spending much money, did you? And obviously you have actors that are working here. I mean, you have a couple full front nude scenes. I mean, did you?
Yeah, that was. I was like, yes.
Did you still manage to pay them something, or is that something you can trade food for? Because if it is, I'm going to get my video camera out and be like, hey, food, come on down, full frontal nude.
Well, that is a very funny story because again, the original cut of the movie. There is no scene of him killing this girl in the beginning. There is no 3 other scenes of him killing them. But so the film was like really bad, and like my friends were like, well, I mean, if you want this to be an esoteric art film, it sort of works. But if you want it to be a scary horror movie, it's not that scary.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was just gonna do just this one scene in the beginning. So I had this audition set where it was like, must come in and be willing to like undress, because I was like, well, I mean, the scene is this, and we'll pay them $200 for like the thing. Yeah. But of course, like, I mean, that's about as sleazy and as bad as an audition can get, right? I mean, that only sounds like we're like awful people. So
you're being upfront though, at least.
yeah. I was like, well, if they can't do it now, they can't. How do I know they can do it in the movie?
Exactly.
So no one showed up except 2 people that knew a guy, a good friend of mine who was helping out at the time. He was is I guess a nudist, and it was like, oh no, like I know people, like I know nudists, so I guess he just knew these 2 people who were the only people who showed up for the like audition for this. So literally, they came in and like did the scene. And then we eventually went with the girl in the beginning, Christine Nagoon, who actually has done apparently lots of like softcore porn movies. Wow. Apparently, she was really sweet, great to work with, and we went with her for the first scene. Yeah. And so those like 2 girls who came into audition, they were just sort of on the cutting room floor because I was like, well, they're not going to be at the beginning of the movie. It's it's her. So then there was a cut where that was just that was in the beginning, and then that was it. And then my amazing friend Ashley Bracken, who's actually in the movie, who plays Jen, Sandra's friend. Yeah, she's a big fan and very smart, very sharp, and she was watching a cut. I think 20-30 minutes in, she said, "I'll love her forever for this." She looked over and she said in a very nice way. She said, "Yeah, so there's a lot of talking. Do you have any like parts that are like scary or?" And I was like, "So that's to say, I immediately went and looked at those 2 women that did come in, which was the white girl and then the Hispanic girl, and I looked at them and I was like, and I looked at all of them, and this was no correct sound. This is literally just people who came in for the audition, and sure enough, I was like, okay. She'll go there. She'll go there. And then I had to reach out to them and be like, hey, so can I use your image in the movie? And I can give you, this amount of money. And can you please sign this thing? So then just because I was so terrified the film would be too dull and too boring, I then put those 2 great women who completely committed in the audition process. So so those they literally don't even know they're going to be in the movie. They're just there to audition. Wow. For the movie.
Wow.
Those strangling scenes were good, actually. Yeah. It actually was pretty intense and it really wrapped me in. So I'm glad that you add those in there and kept that. And being nude, it actually intensifies it more because it's like it seems like it's more of a serious situation.
That was sort of like, I mean, like I know Rob, that was sort of like your childhood at the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Please undress.
Just with more cuddling afterwards.
Oh, okay.
The more boobers, the better, right? See?
Oh yes, I was happy.
Yeah. So I have plenty of questions, but some other notes too. So obviously, doing it the quote unquote found footage route it helps save some money. I mean, am I wrong?
Oh yeah, I mean, literally one camera, which I'm looking at right now, which is broken, but it's now on my bookshelf, is like a badge of honor.
Nice.
It's just a consumer camera. What, it was like $200, and like half the movie is shot on that camera.
That's
and
awesome.
And then the other one was just something I borrowed from my friend, who's one of the producers, Rich Cabrera, great guy. He let me just borrow his camera for like the whole time. I was like, thanks, man. Like, thanks.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
I was saying too, I think it's more, it is creepy because the found footage style, you can actually, it's like real because someone could actually take a camera, go stalk someone and no one knows what's happening, sneak in their apartment, hide hidden cameras. So it does feel really, really real. Like just like the guy walking across the street could be doing this.
Well, and we've talked about this plenty on the show. Like you said, Walter, people either love or hate the film. Well, I think.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I think that goes sort of with the found footage model. I mean, I for one, I love found footage.
Me too.
Like I'm willing, if I'm like on the fence about watching a movie, and then they're like, "Oh, it's a found footage," I'm like, "Oh, sweet, I'll fucking watch it." But then if you talk to other fans in the genre, some of them are diehard, like fuck found footage. I hate found footage. And so I think that just being that in general is puts people on one side of the fence or the other. I don't know if Rob. I know Rob, you don't really like found footage that much, do you?
I mean, I like gritty found footage. Like I think the Blair Witch Project is like my definition of found footage. But then there are movies out there like The Gallows, and it's like they just all happen to have high def cameras in their back pockets. And the sound is perfect, and every room they walk in is lit just right.
Yep.
You just the whole time you're just like this is horse shit now.
There just has to be a good reason for it.
That's
right?
why the fucking nitty gritty is the best.
Why are you holding the camera?
Well, I mean, found footage to me works a lot better when it's more realistic. Like POV, you got like Paranormal Activity got really strange with it. I think like in the third and fourth where they just had cameras everywhere.
Yeah,
they just had cameras everywhere. So it's like you might as well just shot it normally, and it would have worked a lot better. So that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask too a little bit about this soundtrack. Actually, the soundtrack was one of my favorite parts about the film.
And speaking of like The Shining, you were talking about that. It had some Shining-esque like sounds to it, and just the creepy sound, not like music but sound effects.
Yeah, really nice sound effects. And I mean, did you do the sound yourself, or did you? I did see in the credits you had some people on sound there. So
yeah, there were a couple of people. There was a great guy, Jesus Contreras. Oh, forgive me if I'm getting his name wrong, but he helped a lot. He was doing many things at the time, but he did, I think, 6 or 7 or 8 combinations of stuff. And he said, okay, here are combinations, and I'll give you the different layers of stuff. Because like one combination would be made of like maybe 4 pieces. Another one would maybe be made of like 3 or 5. And he says, because I was being like very specific of like, okay, so there, like 3 seconds in, can like you have move that thing there, and then I was being so specific. And he's like, it may be better if you can like move this yourself around.
Yeah.
So yes, I suppose you could say that I specifically then kind of picked like where to put them and kind of how to bring them in and how to bring them out, and then there's the piece in the beginning, which is I think towards the end, which is by my amazing friend Aaron Jolly, who has all types of like electronic songs and like weird kind of Sigur stuff and weird like Bjork stuff. And I mean, she's like a mad genius. But that was a piece that she just had that I was like, great. Works over it. Not changing anything. It's perfect.
Well, and a lot of classical music is that.
Yeah,
is
the
that
classical's
too,
cool.
which I love, and I love that combination with horror. But was that just to fit the mood, or do you have some kind of like, do you love classical music or something like that?
Oh, well, I guess the answer is both, in that I am a mega huge fan of classical music. I mean, even when I was like a teenager, I was listening to it all the time and thought it was maybe uncool and didn't like talk about it and thought it was nerdy or something. But no, mega huge classical music fan, and sort of try to put in anything I can, or if I can make it fit. And I was like, well, okay, like, he could be listening to this. It's like sort of, says something, perhaps if he's listening to this, it might convey a certain amount of like sophistication, as opposed to if it was like, I don't know, like a cheesy R&B song, that's like saying something completely different. If it was like a rap song, it would just say something different. And I wanted to, cause I had a very clear idea of how he saw himself, which you strangers will like never ever see, which like if this had been a normal film, you would have totally, and if I could have afforded it, you would have seen like this sort of abstract image of how he saw himself, which was a panther with titanium skin. So sort of like he saw clearly, because I did some research on serial killers, and they certainly sort of look at themselves as if they are above like the normal human, as if he's not part of the same species as us. And so he saw himself as a mix between like the perfect killing living organism fused with like a perfect calculating like machine. He saw himself as like a hybrid cybernetic animalistic organism that was above morality.
Well, I like his dialogue a lot too. The dialogue that he said when he was by himself, that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think that fits perfectly, because I actually got some vibes of like American Psycho from this film, like especially when he's
oh, you're kidding me!
Well,
wow,
just the whole.
I did too.
Just the whole like.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole he's watching porn. So there's and I mean, yeah, but then also just
the music,
just a little bit. Well, you have this like classical music over the top of some of this deranged shit, and it's just him by himself, and you get that air that he's like, this is me, this is my world, like, I own it, I run everything, and that's the same thing you get from American Psycho, which, like you said, is very much like a lot of serial killers out there. They like to to run everything.
I just love that scene where he has the hidden cam, and then Jason, the boyfriend, comes home and Sandra's sleeping, and then he wakes her up and says everything's gonna be okay, and then they start having sex, and then you see him watching it on his laptop at his house, and the orchestra music starts coming up and the classical, and he's conducting as they're having sex, and I'm like, this guy is so fucked up. I love this. So that was great. That was a great scene for sure. But yeah, I could totally see how you can relate it to Christian Bale, as his part as Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. But yeah.
And did you pull any certain like just for this film specifically? Are there some influences from certain like other films that inspired you for this? And also with that, like, did you think up this whole idea, or were you inspired to it somehow?
Oh yeah. So I guess to answer the second question first, is I had written a horror script, just a normal sort of horror script that I'm almost certain is like not very good, and maybe wasn't very good, and I just could not get it to work. And it was clearly a script where I was just still learning how to write, I suppose, and it had a bunch of scenes that I liked, but they did not add up to a compelling story that has an overall hook to it. So that script failed. And again, my great friend Ryan Bosloff, he's one of the producers, he said, why don't you turn this script into a found camera footage thing? And I was like, how the fuck can I turn this script into found camera footage? That is impossible. And he said, no, there was the scenes with the stalking. Okay, there was like maybe one scene, two scenes where someone stalks somebody else in a script that clearly did not work. But that got me the idea of like someone stalking someone, and then that's when I got the idea, which was just a very scary feeling that, like, you know, because I remember watching, I guess, America's Most Wanted, and just you know, the serial killer is such a scary thing because they could be anyone, and you know, they say how seductive they are, and I was like, wow, someone right now is doing this right now. And I was like, okay, that's really scary. Maybe that could work. And then I had not made a movie yet, and I was so desperate to make a movie. I was like, well, okay, if it is found camera footage, I can make it right now, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like Rob, your favorite show's Unsolved Mysteries, right?
Those are that's scary as shit too.
Yeah,
that music still creeps me out.
Yeah, the Unsolved Mysteries music.
That's
with that guy. I don't even know what his name is, but
so yeah. I mean, you mentioned
Robert Stack.
Robert Stack. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Rob's like, don't diss. He just watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
What's it on now, Rob? Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. They're trying to redo it on Lifetime, I think, with David Farina, but nah, you can't replace Robert Stack.
No way.
That guy was like a robot. It seems like
He's great.
I know he added to the creepiness. He probably was, you know, an alien.
he's a replicant.
Yeah, he's Skynet. That's what it was.
He's 3 movies in one, apparently.
For sure.
So you mentioned America's Most Wanted. Are there any other films that were like rolling around in your head while you were, you know, writing and shooting this?
Yeah, I suppose in a big way, Cape Fear and Rosemary's Baby, because even though I suppose they're very different than this movie, I saw them as both versions of a very good execution of a slow burn movie. Like Cape Fear is as incredibly entertaining as it is in every frame of the picture. It is seemingly like a slow burn. It gets worse and worse. And Max Cady, you know, kills the dog, and then he does this, and you know, then he beats. Oh, that creepy scene when he's beating what the woman he's having an affair with, and it like gets worse and worse.
Yep.
So that was a big inspiration. Then Rosemary's Baby. I mean, my God, for ages it feels like nothing's happening in that movie, and then but like, oh no, it's because I watched it for you know to study for this, and I was like, oh, every scene is just adding just a little like, huh? Oh, what's that? And then like next scene's like, well, that's kind of weird. What's that? And like it I was like, you know, and I love that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's well, I think you definitely accomplished that in this, and I'll tell you, you know, in the beginning as I started watching it, I'm sort of like, okay, like it's found footage, and yeah, it is found footage. It's not really pretty, and it's like with a shitty camera, but then as the editing is sort of what pulled me in. Like a lot of you just started doing things that I didn't expect out of like. I don't mean this as a diss at all, but like the first 5 minutes I was watching, I was like trying to gauge the caliber of the film in my head. You know, I'm like,
of course, it's an editing thing. That you were by.
Yeah, and as I'm watching in the first little bit, I'm like, you know, like I don't expect much. But then as it was going from shot to shot, and you were slipping like this, some weird like fucking shit there, and it was pulling me in. I'm like, damn, like, that's badass. Like what you did there is just badass.
I felt like my eyes getting wider. Like, whoa, is this happening now? What just happened? Yeah.
But like you said, some people like me are into that. Like
I love
some of the random. I don't know if you want to call it artsy or whatever, but is in there with some classical music, with some funky shit, with some porn in the background, and I'm just like, fuck yeah. And you know, some people are like, oh, well, it doesn't flow, and I have to have like the, you know, exact storyline to my horror film. And I'm like, no, this is awesome.
No way.
I heard many people, or half the people, say that. I was like, well, that's not what I was going for.
Yeah, and I think what you're going for was perfect, you know, because that, you know, some people won't like it, but that's my type of thing for sure.
Yeah. Cut. So yeah, and you edited obviously, right?
Oh yeah. I've been editing for how many years? I've cut 10 feature films. Oh yeah, and that's
you did
really,
a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It is the funnest process for me, perhaps one of.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure then you get to see it come together, you know. So. And
you really did have great acting. Let's talk about the main female, Tristan Rough, playing Sandra. She really did. I mean, obviously she's the main character. She's on the whole time. It's following her life. This guy's stalking her. She really did a great job with being just believable, and with the situation she was put in.
Wow.
Where'd you find her? Did she just like come in, or do you hold auditions, or did you already have her like handpicked?
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, she was great. I thought we were holding auditions, and again, I was already friends with Aaron Bowden, and Aaron was just helping like read like with the actresses during the auditions, and then his friend Jake Miller, they were friends, and Jake also helped, and he was reading for the boyfriend. And so these two guys were just totally helping out, and we were not finding the right girl, and there was a girl who was really close, but she couldn't nail the dramatic scenes because these auditions were like really tricky because they were improvised. Again, there was no script, so they literally had to come in, and the audition description said this, but it's like must be able to improvise, and if they couldn't do it, I mean they literally could or they could not do it.
Yeah.
And then I think Jake, who ended up being one of the producers on the film as well, he was a huge help. I think he knew someone who like referred her. I'm not sure she came in through the usual audition channel. I think it was through a great magical referral. And so she just showed up, and I opened the door, and I guess I'd seen her stuff briefly, but it was much more of this kind of like song and dance stuff. It was not a bunch of like dramatic stuff. It was more song and dance stuff. And so she showed up, and I was like, oh, she has very interesting look, like immediately. And she just had a great kind of interesting, calm, but almost mysterious energy about her, I thought. And she was very nice. And I guess did a couple of callbacks. And then the one that I was like, okay, it's her. Because she had nailed, she did very well the like, because it was basically an audition scene was her with Dee the psychopath, which those were fun. Yeah. And then the scene with her and her boyfriend, and like the breakup scene where she finds out or thinks that he's broken up with her. Sure. So these two opposite ends of emotion, and she did those really well. And I was like, okay, I think it's her. And then I said, okay, so Tristan, we're all just going to leave the room, and we're just going to put the camera on. So we're all just going to leave, and I just want you to just kind of do nothing. I want you to just sit there and really do nothing, just kind of be thinking about something, but I don't want you to do anything, please. And she's like, okay, fine. And we left the room, and she was just because I was like, well, certain scenes, and in fact, I did do this. There were certain scenes in the film where I literally had everyone leave the room because the crew was sort of mainly me and maybe one person helping if I was like lucky.
Yeah.
But she did that, and we looked at the footage, and I was like, "Oh, this is the girl." Like she was sitting there. She
was the one.
Oh, because it really had to be someone who you can just really kind of look at, and I mean, this is such a subtle thing, but if she'd been, just off in some way, it wouldn't work. But I was completely blown away by her doing absolutely nothing. And then, for example, to kind of piggyback on leaving the room, the scene in the movie, which is, my God, another freaking reshoot because the movie was boring and didn't work. The whole scene where it's like I guess it's right after he does the conducting thing, and we cut to the screen going white, and we cut to it being like a void of white, and then we fade into her just sitting there, and she's in the red shirt, and he's like, okay, I want to do an exercise with you, and it's that long shot where we're on her face, and he's like walking behind her. Okay. Complete reshoot, did not fucking exist in principal photography at all. The film it just wasn't working. I was like, oh wow, like the I'm looking for is just not there at all. So we shot that, and we did a couple of takes when I was there, and he was walking around her in a circle, and the shot looked great because he would like be in the background, and then he would be in the foreground briefly, he'd walk by. And I'm so glad I asked Tristan. I was like, well, Tristan, do you have any suggestions or ideas? Because if I cast an actor, it means I love them and I want their opinion on kind of everything. Like we're partners, we're in it, together. Like I'm not ordering them around because they need to, they need to bring it. So I said, do you want to try anything at all? And she said, it's not really scary that he keeps walking around in a circle because I just can't, because she said, this whole time he's talking, I'm just thinking just of his footsteps. And I was like, oh, okay, let's try one where he's just in the back. I'm like, would that be more scary for you? And she said, oh yeah, I think that would definitely be more scary if he's just behind me. And I'm thinking like, well, that's going to be dull. It's going to be freaking dull. But I'm like, no, let's try that. And then I was like, and I'll even leave the room, guys. I'm just going to hit record and it'll literally just be you guys. Cause the reality of the story is it is just you two. So I left the room, and then that's the shot that like made it into the movie.
Really?
Nice,
Wow.
nice. That's great.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't even there when they shot it. I was like giggling in the other room
with the gloves and stuff.
I'm like, yeah. Oh, in the glove, he did that in one take, and that was the actor's idea. That was totally him. That was not me. The glove.
Jeez, wow. And you said once again that these weren't scripted. So did you basically just have like, here's the scene we're going to do, guys, and just as long as you get this information across, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh yeah. That was the other thing that was very fun about the shooting process is in a normal film when it's a script, the scene ends with the last line of dialogue and everyone knows that the scene is over. It's like, okay, well, the scene's over. Oh, no. Every time the scene would end, I would never, ever call cut. And I would cross my fingers and be like, okay, bring something new. Like,
yep.
So I would kind of wait for them to end every scene. So, which made it very interesting on how you would cut it. Cause it had to be sort of, I guess, these bold jump cuts. But again, it only made it more real because that's what he would have done. He would have had to have done that anyway. That was the actual reality, the hyper reality of the situation.
No, that totally works. And so, I mean, you talked about putting all these shots in after principal photography. What was the schedule? How long was principal photography? Did you do it in a couple weeks or what was that?
Yeah. Principal photography was these kind of great 10 days where it was 3 weekends, I guess, Friday through Sunday, and then not during the week because it's like no money really.
Yeah, has jobs, doing other stuff. Yeah.
So it was these 3 amazing weekends, and I guess the third one was like 4 days. So it was like these 10 days. And I still had not shot. Oh, it's so funny. The scene at the very end, I guess, when he goes into that smoke shop and he speaks to the woman who you're like, oh, she's going to go out. She was in 2 other scenes. There were 2 other smoke shop scenes where he just went to visit her because I was like, oh, I've got to set her up. I've got to set her up 2 times. And then we see her at the end and like, oh, no, you just like didn't need those scenes.
No.
But that's to say none of those scenes were shot yet. But all like the nitty gritty, all the stuff in the apartment, all the meat was shot. And then I did a cut really quickly because, I mean, I've cut so many things. I can just cut really, really, really fast. So really 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I had a cut of the whole movie, and that's when I realized there were huge, profound problems with.
Sure, and were you just? I mean, you were saying people were telling you this. Were you just showing this first cut to like friends and family and stuff?
Oh yeah, this was like 10 of my very awesome and amazing, very opinionated filmmaker friends, and a few art and film, but are lovers, and they're just as fucking opinionated. And oh yeah, they laid it on me.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah.
If all said it's really great, if they had all lied to my face, because you're just I'm wanting with humility to please just make the best thing. So tell me if it sucks and I can make it better. But if they'd all lied to me, this movie might be very different. But they're all like, well, not very scary, and you kind of forget. I mean, is he in the movie? You don't see him at all. Where is he? Like I literally think, guys, the only time you saw him is maybe when he was talking to her.
Yeah.
And that was like, and like sometimes when he's doing the killing or the black suit, but like the first cut, you literally forgot he was in the movie. Him, his head. Oh, so a very long post journey, which I learned a lot from.
Well, I'm glad you made him more of a presence there too, and that was great. So was this shot in California and Los Angeles?
Oh yes,
Nice.
Sunny Los Angeles. Oh yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that desert scene had a litlittle hills have eyes.
I wrote that down when you have him like taking the hamper out there in the desert, and him it looked like a little hills have eyes action. That's actually the movie we're covering right now, the series.
Wow.
But that was cool.
Just to clarify, were those body parts in the hamper? I'm trying to like what
was that the Hispanic girl or
yeah.
Well, I'm really hoping that you're thinking that. I am banking on you wondering if it's the Hispanic girl or if it's oh yeah, and like again, that's a scene that did not exist that I just made up because he needed to do something interesting and creepy.
Yeah, that was cool.
No, I was wondering. I'm like, is this did he chop them all up and fit them in here? I'm like, who's in there?
No, well, no, I saw it as like this is one person, but he does this, like every few months, and he has his favorite spot because serial killers seem to be really creepy and territorial like that.
Yeah.
No, that was actually just that sticks out in my mind, and I don't know if it was for sure my favorite shot, but I just loved the close up on it as it was burning and the intense music, and then the jump cut right after that. I love that part.
I actually like that same music with the close up with the cheetah killing the antelope, and then the creepy, scary music there. I was like, geez, it kind of.
You mean you weren't crying? Because when we were kids, Scotty used to cry on nature shows when the lion and the cheetah would kill the zebra.
I might have cried a little bit. I felt sorry for the antelope.
Zebra. He would literally be bawling when the zebra died. We were like 8 years old.
Yeah, we were 8 years old. I'm not that young anymore. I can deal with it now, I think. But it was creepy.
Cheetah's got to eat too, Scotty.
I know.
I think if Scotty saw it in real life, he'd still cry.
No, I did see it in real life. I saw a zebra last year in Africa. He was already dead. I didn't see the lion eating him, but there was a zebra carcass.
If you saw it happening,
I really saw it dead like in person.
Yeah, I saw it dead in person.
Yeah,
it was the worst smell ever.
If you saw it happening, like the thing dying and flailing, and you would be crying.
Actually, I saw a Cape buffalo carcass and a zebra carcass. They're both already their stomachs were eaten out and they're rotting, and it was the worst dead animal smell I've ever smelled in my entire life. I almost puked, but they were already dead, so I didn't see them flailing and stuff. But yeah. So.
But no, that's just an example of some of the shit I liked. I mean, the jump cuts, the weird. I wrote in my notes because it reminded me the Ring video I put right before they say Phase 3, you have that compilation of things,
Oh yes, that weird fucked up.
Yeah, that was cool.
And in my head, I'm like, this is it reminds me of the video from the Ring that they all watch before they
when they put it in and they have all those clips and that weird music. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I totally can agree with you on that one for sure.
But
yeah, there's a very funny sort of roundabout how that got into the movie, because that weird Cuddy video was absolutely not made for this movie. It is something I did. I did this. I made with another friend of mine this shall we say a half-hour pilot years ago. It was meant to be like a. I mean, it still might happen one day, but it was meant to be like a modern day Twilight Zone show. And then, but then for festivals, I cut it down to this 15-minute thing. But that's all to say, it all evolves around this very weird company, the Peach Corporation, that goes door to door, that wants to show them their promotional video for their facilities, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And when the guy watches it, you never ever eventually see what it is. But we intended to always show what's on the video. And at the end of the day, again, because I listened to some great friends who are opinionated, they said, it's more creepy if you don't show it. Don't show it. I was like, no, but the whole point is to show it.
Yeah, you got to show it.
We spent my great friend Brian called it. We spent months and months and months and months. I mean, this was its whole project in and of itself, just cutting this thing. But long story short, we just literally took it out. We kept 2 seconds of it, and you just never saw it because it was more mysterious and Twilight Zone-y. So it was just sort of sitting there, and yet again, I'm stuck with this film where I'm completely terrified in every corner that it's too dull, too boring. What's another fucked up weird thing I can show him do, maybe pseudo show him do. Yeah. And I was like, well, I got that. No one's ever going to see it. So sure enough, I just plopped it in and I was like, okay, maybe it works.
I liked it, man. And the phases on the screen, you said that you were a big fan of The Shining. I mean, that did remind me of Saturday, Thursday, how they do that in the original Shining.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought that was a cool a cool thing there. One thing I wanted to clarify, because I couldn't tell or not, is he like every time he's choking a bitch, is he getting off at the same time?
It's like it's
Absolutely.
like his crack.
Because I mean, I think it's real obvious on the last one, but the first couple, I'm sort of like, either he's like just struggling real hard, or is he like coming in his pants right now?
Yeah. It was great. It was like his fix. He needed a fix, so he needed to find another girl to kill and call someone up just so he could, get through finally to get through to Sandra.
Yeah, towards the end.
And finally gets to her at the very end, but needed some girls in between there until he got to her. That was that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah, the actor, that was a very fun conversation with the actor, because he might have even just done a take where he just like did that. And like, again, he and I worked before, and he's just like an amazing guy, and we're just very much on the same page. So he'll just do stuff and he'll surprise me. I love being surprised by my actors more than anything. And I think he just did that, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, so that's your MO.
Yeah, there we go. It worked for me.
Rob,
it was good.
Rob, that's like you when you buy a gun, right? You like the clerk hands it to you, and you hand over your card, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah. It's an immediate. So it's an immediate reaction. I walk out with an erection every time.
You have to tuck it between your waistbands,
They're like,
right?
don't let that guy.
Oh
back
no!
in.
I walk out proudly.
Oh, good.
Like I'm
good, man.
like I'm strutting.
You're like Ron Burgundy. You just let that thing show.
Yes, exactly.
So that's sort of the film, and I loved it, and there's just some, like I said, it surprised me. I watched the trailer, I started watching some of it. I was like, this is cool, but then it started the editing and some of these shots and
yeah, I really got
definitely
into
the
it.
soundtrack. I was just like, oh man, yeah, this is fucking rocking.
I found myself sitting at the edge of the seat, like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? Like towards the very end, like, what's gonna happen next? And so it definitely wrapped me into it for sure.
Yeah, and now obviously it's been distributed. I think I saw was it like late or mid August that you finally got everything to go through, or.
Yeah, the release platform, they launched it, I believe, August 22nd.
Okay, and so how? How'd you go about looking and getting distribution for it?
Oh, there was like a whole list, to like call and reach out to. But then I knew this great girl, Lindsay, my friend Lindsay, and she knew this guy who worked at Terror Films. And I just kind of reached out to her, and I was like, can he check out the movie and see if it's like a fit for them? Cause this was one of those true kind of, like post took, much longer than I expected, and I had to shoot all this stuff. And, then you sometimes have to stop working on it, for a month or two, cause you have to take editing jobs or, so it was definitely a very, tricky thing to sort of kind of stick with for like a long time, but they checked it out, and they liked it like immediately. And Joe Dane got on the phone from Terror Films, and I guess he just he said sort of like I guess just all the right things, and he said what they were thinking and what they wanted to do, and I checked out their website, of course, and their trailers, and they've been great.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And so I know it was like a hiatus before the distribution, and you've worked on other films since then. Was this one almost like forgotten? Where you're like, oh yeah, I should go back and try and like distribute this? Was it almost like a lost cause?
To be perfectly honest, yes. At a certain point, you lose such like confidence, and X amount of producers, at a certain point, they get busy, they're just doing other things. At a certain point, it is just like me, myself, like if I don't push this forward, like nothing would happen. And, but again, I've been lucky, my parents, were like just very supportive about this, and just being there for me. And then, and then I was fortunate to meet like a new filmmaker friend, John Klein. He's just a fantastic filmmaker. He's just finishing up his first film, Once Upon a Superhero. It's this very weird, strange film that we met through that. But that's to say, we became friends, and I mean, he literally said, "Oh, this was over a year ago." He said, "You know, man, it just does you no good for this," because he had seen the film by this point, and I at this point thought clearly the movie's not good. It can't be any good. Yes, half the people seem to really like it, the other half don't seem to like it. And you look at it so many times, it's like I'm not sure if I even liked it that much. I looked at it, hundreds of times. So I think for me, I was certain it wasn't a good movie. Yeah. But he saw it and he was like, "No, I liked it." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Dude." He's like, "This is creepy and it's weird, it's fucked up," and I guess sort of some of what you guys have been saying. And he's like, "Dude, you gotta he's like, don't have it just sit in your hard drive." He's like, "You got to at least get it out there." So, yeah, in a big way, it's because of my friend John Klein.
Oh, that's
nice.
Wow.
Heck yeah, man, that's great. That's what friends are for. Bring that in, and I'm glad you put it out there because then we wouldn't have seen it, and and our listeners and stuff too. So it's a good. I'm glad you did that, man.
Yeah,
good for you, brother.
So So did you wrap that up now? You've worked on stuff since then. I mean, are you do you want to talk about some stuff that you're working on now, or where people can go to check it out?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I had one film which we were planning to shoot this fall called Ultraviolence, and I guess you could say it's a science fiction home invasion film.
Okay, is it a little? I mean, Ultraviolence, is it inspired by Clockwork Orange or?
Well, of course, undeniably, yes.
Oh yeah.
Sort of a film that I guess sort of has like the plot of Funny Games, where like the whole film is sort of this weird, strange takeover of their house, but they're toying with them. But here we have like a very strange, cyberpunk gang of three who has, these weird machines that can like read the victims' minds, and they're learning all their secrets, and they're, turning them, like against each other, but they're playing these, these weird torture simulations, and so we were going to make that. I just formed a company with my brother, George, Terraform Pictures, and we were going to do that this fall. And it didn't come completely together. So it looks like I'll be able to make this other film. This, I guess you could say it's a sci-fi horror thing in the desert, and then like a desert wasteland, sort of about, surviving in nature, but with this other element, which for this one I'll be slightly vague about at the moment because I'm still nailing the plot down. But sure. But that I can make is very much in the vein of No Country for Old Men and The Revenant, but with sort of like Twilight Zone twist, like this one like thing that's sort of just odd and strange in the mix of it all.
Oh, okay. And nice. Now, and these films you're working on now, like you said, you formed this company to release these, and are you still very much like trying to like funding these yourselves, or are you reaching out now to possible investors, or are they bigger budgets? Are you comfortable sort of staying at the lower budgets?
Oh well, yeah, sort of doing all the above as we speak. Ultraviolence is a film that it's so funny. The nothing version, right? That like still needs like talented actors, talented filmmakers, and you can make it for $50,000. But I would definitely. But I'm aiming for like $250,000. Between $250,000 and $2 million, right? In that range.
Yeah.
See if we can get some names. See if we can seduce them with the story and the experience. Because for that particular film, I'm incredibly excited because it is sort of these victims who are overtaken by these three villains, but like that, the rehearsal process will be for me really fun because the whole film will be shot in chronological order, and the actors who play the victims will never ever rehearse with the actors who play the villains. They'll rehearse with other actors so that when when we shoot and roll cameras, they will be truly meeting these people for the very, very first time ever. And if they haven't, in case haven't already met.
Oh, that's a cool concept.
Yeah, that is really cool. That spooks them out. Like, holy shit!
And so, have you found that it's easier than you thought, or difficult to try and find funds for the film, or investors, or a company to back it, or something like that? Oh
yeah, it's maybe about That's a very funny question. It's maybe as hard as I expected, or maybe slightly harder, because of course, I have friends, who know people at production companies, or know people at, distributors, or maybe has access to some name talent. And of course, they're all, if you're talking a budget for $200,000, $500,000, or $2 million, then that's when it's very fun words and very practical words like package, like who's attached, and if like this one person can be attached, then you maybe can get other people, and if just one or two actors are attached, then you can get the distributors, attacks. And then because I've one great friend of mine, Todd Bartu, who's helping produce this new thing. We'll actually have both things. So yeah, this guy's a great hustler. But he's saying, how, he knows just certain people like financiers who they're just waiting to dump money in a movie, but it needs to have distribution back and have certain names. So so this is a very, very fun. Thank God I find it fun, I guess. But it's a fun kind of the lay of the land is much more complex than I thought. Yet the whole construct of the machine is incredibly simple. We're still just trying to make a movie, get some names, get the money, and just shoot the fucking movie.
Yep.
Once it's shot, we can just cut it, and we can just But then the very weird long process of distribution. Can you get distribution at what level, theatrical, or if it's just these platforms? I mean, it's that was the true labyrinth process for me of the whole thing. Was once you make the movie, that was more complex than I ever could have imagined.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So that's so it's almost backwards from what a lot of people think. Like you would think, let's get the money, let's make the movie, and then let's see about distribution. And
the post-production is what takes the longest.
So it's almost like if you can get the perfect combination of commitments from distribution and actors and whatever 100 other things, location and production companies, then you might be able to sway the financiers to give you the money. Is basically how it breaks down, right?
Oh yeah, and now we're approaching certain actors, and some of them we're approaching them in just a very simple hey, you would be great for this role. You are our top pick. We'd love you to be involved. Can you please read it? And if you're interested, can you give us a letter of intent so we can show it to our financiers? Because apparently just man, I guess again, if you're at a certain level of filmmaking, if it does work out, these letters of intent, I mean, they can change, they can turn the tide of everything. Wow. Because then, of course, the financier or distributor is like, okay, we can be assured to gamble in the realm of what we're willing to gamble in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
That's so awesome.
Very interesting.
That's good
stuff.
to know this stuff too, and the behind the scenes of what it all takes to make this movie,
exactly,
or to make movies just in general. It's really cool stuff, man.
Well, yeah, I think I think we got what we needed out of the documentary.
Yeah, this was
here.
great. I actually wanted to relate one of our things on the podcast that we do. We have for each movie we have kind of these little things that we have, and for Hellraiser in particular, we have the Pinhead. Of course, you've probably seen Hellraiser. I wanted to relate a scene in the documentary to Hellraiser. We call Hellraiser the prankster Pinhead, right? Yeah, so he's the prankster. He's always pranking people.
I don't
know
how that originated, but we.
Oh yeah, he always has the great line where it says, "I can give you dreams."
Yeah, exactly. So this point in the documentary when I think it's the first time where Dee goes into Sandra's apartment and leaves, and her keys are gone. So she's like, "Where's my keys? I can't find my keys." And I pictured Dee as Pinhead leaning back, looking at the laptop, saying, "I got your keys."
It was pranks for Pinhead, Rob. It was pranks for Pinhead.
Yes. So that was really.
That did hit me too.
That was great. I was like, God, that's just perfect.
It's a little inside joke.
It is inside joke, but that was
like a whole alternate, in an alternate dimension.
Oh, we do.
The entire film, you see Dee's face the whole movie. You see him chuckling and smiling.
Yeah, it's like he is. Yeah, he's like prankster Pinhead.
Yeah, he's a little
and really fucked up.
He's a little mischievous guy, So.
Yeah, so it's great, man. Yeah, it was really fun watching it, and I think it was good, really good.
Well, cool. Well, you guys can find the documentary on Amazon Prime. It's free if you're a member.
Yeah, just go look up the documentary.
Anywhere else they should look to keep up with you, Walter, with future projects and things like that?
Oh, well, I guess there's always Facebook and Instagram, and then then you can also see it on iTunes, Vudu, Xbox, PlayStation, and others.
All
Awesome.
right, Walter Moise, right? Is that right?
Walter Moise.
Moise, got it. Yes.
Is that like Christopher Lambert, Robert?
It is like Christopher Lambert. He's French.
We're going to argue about that.
Like the T would not be pronounced at the end.
Yeah.
See, it wouldn't. I'm right. It's Christopher Lambert.
Exactly.
There can be only one. Damn it.
We don't know that he's French, though. Do you know that he's French for sure?
I know that he's French. I'm positive.
He's French. He's in like early Luc Besson films in like Subway, totally yakking away in the French.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Rob.
Okay.
It's hard to tell because his accent. I guess he just sounds like a weird sounding American. But
Yes, he does.
No.
He just sounds like a very slow talking American.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I
Well,
gotcha.
Rob, you won that round, but let me just reiterate my dominance by asking Walter, what's the better Shining, the original Shining or the TV
no, you can't do
miniseries
that
with Steven Weber?
because obviously he's a Kubrick fan, and it's slighted.
Well, of course, it's the Kubrick one, and I have to say, I loved your podcast on The Shining specifically, and like the axe is just so much better. I mean, come on.
is.
Yeah. Then the croquet mallet. I'm glad you listened to that one. He listened to it.
Mallet? I'm sorry. How is that
No,
scary?
no.
I guess it's scary.
Rob's
Yeah.
just upset because he's abandoned as a child by Stanley Kubrick because they both look the same.
Yeah, that's his father, his long lost father. Now he's passed away.
Oh. And
I'm not a Kubrick fan. I'm just not.
Oh, okay. Oh, awesome.
And I'm not mad that you were right on that one, Rob, because somehow he mentioned Luc Besson, and that somehow has to do with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. So
I do
because he's done.
I
some
do
JCVD films.
love the muscles from Brussels.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
And Walter, we appreciate you being a fan of our podcast too. So
Yeah.
we thank you for that too, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, guys. Oh, you guys are great. You're like so hilarious, and yet like very like exacting about it. It's a great combination of being like you take it very seriously, and then these masturbation jokes. And
we get on our little tangents.
Yeah, it's great. It's you guys sound like me and my friends almost. So.
I'm the chaos theory brought into that. They were they had too much. They had too many facts, and
It was just me and Danny. We had to bring someone in to kind of loosen it up.
I think
a little bit.
the first show I came on was like 2.5 hours because
it was.
I made it my mission to interrupt every pod. It's like Danny would be like, well, in this scene right here, Tom Savini put the arrow through Kevin Bacon's neck, and then I would just go like, that girl's boobs look like ski slopes from that last scene.
No,
you know that?
You know what it is, Rob? It's that we were on Friday the 13th, and you were just fanboying out hardcore on it. That's what it was.
That's because I'm a Jason. I'm a Friday the 13th guy.
All right,
Freddie, you could take or leave. I'm not.
Well, cool. Well, we've been going on for a while now, but we definitely appreciate you joining us, Walter, and yeah, really, really, thanks for coming on the show, and we love the film.
Yes, thanks, man.
Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Go get the documentary, guys, out there on Amazon Prime.
Yep, and thanks for joining us, you guys, and as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.
See you guys.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.